everyone, welcome back to Bernina Club. So I did tell you that I was going to do a little something this month again with a linen fabric. So I have made this beautiful linen pillowcase and I'm going to show you my method of sewing a pillowcase because it's so quick and easy. You'll probably never buy pillowcases again. The beauty about making your own is you can match it to your duvet that you've made or your quilt you've made, or you can just make them a statement all by themselves. So what I've used is I've used our beautiful printed linens, and these are from Flossiphy Art. We sell them, there's about 5 different colorways. We sell them online and on our website. And I've matched it with a plain soft pink linen as an accent, and then a white linen as my border on the end. So what you need is you need the width of your border, and it needs to be able to be folded in half, so you've got all the measurements in your notes, so you can iron that in half, so you've got it already done. Then you have about 3.5 centimeters of fabric and you iron the wrong sides together, okay? The front of your pillowcase is this one here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to place our accent fabric right side to right side on to the front of our pillowcase. And it's very, very, very easy, and I'll just use little clips to hold it in place. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move this because it's quite bulky. Pop that up there. What I'm going to show you is, some of you may not realise that your 1/4 inch foot, if I hold this up, can you see there, the 1/4 inch foot at the end of it is a little bit rounded. It's a nice curved edge. This means that if I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam, I can have the needle position in the middle, but if I do a slight 1/4 inch seam, I could move my needle position to the right. It's called a scant 1/4 inch. And I can do a narrow 1/4 inch, because what I'm going to do, if I explain this correctly, is I'm going to sew down here with my needle position 1 click to the right, but with my 1/4 inch foot on, and do a scant 1/4 inch, and then when I sew my border on the end, I can do a full 1/4 inch. So it just means that I won't see my first row of stitching. So I hope I've explained that right, but I'll show you. Okay. So I'm just going to use my clips. I've got my 1/4 inch foot on. Oh, I need to tell the machine which foot I've got on. So I've got my 97D foot. Now this means I can put my jewel feed down there. So it's going to feed my layers evenly. Okay, I'll get my little clips out. And one thing about linen is it does like to move. So you might like to do what I did last month and give it a little spray starch before you start, so that it's a little bit firmer to work with. But the thing that you will love is when you have washed these, it is the most softest pillowcase you'll sleep on. It's so lovely and soft, it's beautiful. So there's my little clips. I'll put one more down here. It's much easier than using pins. And so I'm going to make sure all my raw edges are together. Oh, that one's not right. All my raw edges are together. And I'm moving my needle position 1 stitch to the right to do a scant 1/4 inch. And you'll hear it a lot in patchwork patterns. So I'm just going to run my foot along the edge, move my needle position 1 needle position to the right. There we are. And do a narrow 1/4 inch. You could go even one more because it is rounded at the end, this foot, which is quite unusual, which you've never probably noticed. Make sure you've got your needle stop down function on. And you can hear how beautiful and quiet the machine is because it's just had a little clean and in oil. It did not sound like that this morning. So it does mean when you're starting something new, put a nice new needle in. I've just put a new 80 needle in, nice sharp needle. You could probably even get away with a 70 needle. Right, and you sew right to the end, and then I can trim that excess off. And when you get to the end, you can simply cut it, because you really don't need to backstitch it because it's going to be stitched again. Now, because I've done a narrow seam, I think if I hold that there you can see I've done my seam. Now I'm going to clear my machine so my needle position goes back to the center. Now this time I'm going to get my accent, which is the white, and I've already done my fold so I know this is the right side. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay down my right side to right side. So this is the front of my pillowcase, this is my flange, my pink is my flange, and this is going to be my end. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to re-pin it, re-clip it. I'm not using pins. And just put 2 or 3 in here because we're going to take them out in a minute. It's just to hold it for a minute. And 1, 2, that will do it for the moment. Now, this is what you do. So you just hold those in place. You turn this to the wrong side, and then you roll up the front of your pillowcase, and you bring the other side of your accent fabric right over the top, so you've formed a tube. I'm going to show you that again. So we started here, and we've got our accent fabric, we've pressed it in half, we've put it right side to right side against our stitching we've already done. We put our clips in, we turn it over to the wrong side, and we roll up the front of our pillowcase, and we bring our accent fabric right across. So now we are going to clip all those layers together, and because you've already pre-stitched, you're only having to put this layer, which is 1, 2, because that's all become 1, and 3 layers together, and you're going to sew along that edge, but this time with your 1/4 inch seam, and that will cover the line of stitching you've already done. It's very, very, very easy, and that is how you sew the front of your pillowcase together and make a perfect finish, which is absolutely foolproof. So now make sure all your edges are even. And these are a lovely, lovely gift as well. You can make these for anybody, but if you're making them for children, you could match their favourite character or whatever on the front fabric and put some nice bright colours on the end. So now I'm just doing exactly the same seam, but my needle position will be in the centre, so it will cover my first lot of stitching. Okay, so you just need to make sure you've got all your layers even. There they are there, and this time I'll backstitch, just so it's nice and strong. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew, instead of using the overlocker for this next step, I'm going to use the sewing machine, and then when I sew it together I'll use the overlocker. So you can see the stitch that I would use if I didn't use my overlocker, because not everybody's got an overlocker. So now my 1/4 inch seam, and it's sewing all my layers nice and evenly. Now at this stage you need to have your iron on, because you need to pull it through and press it. Okay, and there you have it. So we've got the tube there, and now all we do is we get our cushion and we pull it out through our tube and come to the right side, and there you have the front of your cushion. It's your pillowcase. It's so simple. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it with my flange facing down and my accent fabric facing up. So I'll just give it a quick press. I'll come around this way and just give that a quick press so that it's nice and flat. If you wanted, I suppose you could top stitch this, but I don't see, oops, something on my iron, oops. I don't see, you just wouldn't need to. Luckily this has to be washed, is all I can say about that, on the white fabric. I haven't cleaned my little eye and it obviously needs a clean. That's all right, it'll come out because it's only a bit of something on the fabric. Right, so what I do now is I would just trim that off there. Chop. And that's fine. So there you have the front of your cushion pillowcase. Now this is the back. So all I have to do for this one is I have to clean finish this edge. So that means I'm going to iron it once and iron it twice and top stitch it. You could overlock it and turn it under and that would be fine as well, but I'm going to turn it under twice and top stitch it, and that's all you have to do to finish that off. These are so quick and easy to make. It's amazing. So if you want a really nice pillowcase, even as an accent pillowcase, you could make it out of your favourite fabrics and you don't even have to sleep on it. You could just have it for looks on your bed. But this is a lovely, lovely fabric to use, and it will just wear and wear and wear. So double fold, that's all you're doing. It's called clean finishing, and it's just making that a really nice finish on the end there. So that's all I've done. So one fold, two folds, that's it. And then turn it to the right side, because you can just top stitch it, and you can put your stitch length a little bit longer. So I can lengthen my stitch out to say 3, and I can leave my 1/4 inch foot on, because realistically it's about a 1/4 inch fold that I've done. And when you start and you're starting from an end like this, you are better to have a little bit of fabric, you know the deal. Sew onto a bit of fabric so you've got something to hold on to, and then go straight onto your work. All right, and then when you go to carry on, the foot's not going to get stuck. You've got your little bit of fabric and you can put a little bit of tension on, and it will help get that started. And that saves having any knots and messes up at the beginning. Then you can just trim that off. So, you know, sometimes you forget to do it. I do it all the time, but sometimes I forget to show you in the videos. So now I'm just clean finishing that down. And lock it off. Right, that wasn't hard, was it? So that's done. You can see how much longer this needs to be, and that's determined by how far you want this to fold back. So look how easy it is to make a pillowcase. Lay this down, line up your raw edges, and all you're going to do is bring this over to here, bring it down past your fold line. It should be, I've done it so it's roughly about the same there, and then clip it, sew all the way around and overlock it, and you're done. They're the quickest things you'll ever make, and they're really nice, and you can personalise them for the person that's going to have it. You don't need to, you can just put the patterned fabric on the front of it and put plain on the back to make it a little bit cheaper, and you can just use homespun on the back because your head's not going on the back part, it's only going on to the nice soft part on the front. So you could do all sorts of fun things, especially for children. You could do lots of fun things, but even, you know, for anybody, you can make them really, really, really nice and match them to the person you're giving them to. So out of the scraps of the fabric, I'll show you next how an idea that I've done for the cushion. So it's a matching little cushion that goes with it out of the amount of fabric I told you to buy. So you can do a 1/2 inch seam on this one or a 1/4 inch, it won't matter. I've allowed for sort of a 1/2 inch, but I just run it around with the 1/4 inch and then overlock it. So it's making it nice and strong, so through all the washing it's going to be fine. Now you don't need to leave an opening anywhere because this is your opening, okay? So all that happens now is I simply just sew around there, and then we'll pop the overlocker on and I'll overlock around the whole thing and you are done. So, I was going to show you the overlocking on that other one, but I don't need to overlock that because it's on the inside, do I? I might do one side on the sewing machine and one side on the overlocker. So normally I would trim this off, having more time, but I'll just be cutting it off on the overlocker, so it'll be fine. Take your clips out as you go. One thing I do always do, wherever I am joining something, like this is a join here because it's going to be pulled in and out with the pillow, I will always reverse and go back over it. And that just makes that point very, very strong. Okay? And then just sew down. Always remember that when you're doing something like a pillowcase, it's not a really fitted thing, so you don't have to be as particular as you would be if it was a very fitted cushion. So this is just a pillowcase. It's a very loose fitting thing. It's nice and easy to do. All right? So now when you get down to the end, you know the deal. You need to stop. You need to turn. You need to do 1 or 2 stitches and turn so you get a nicer point. Not drastic on this, but I do it every time I sew. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one side on the sewing machine on the single overlock and the other side on the overlocker, just to show you the difference. Because this is linen and it will fray, so we want to make sure it doesn't. If I had more time, I would actually trim this to fit perfectly and I'd probably spray starch it, but it's fine. I know that it will fit anyway because I've allowed plenty of fabric. And this is for a standard New Zealand size pillowcase. Obviously, if you've got a larger pillow, you'll just have to change the measurements, and they are all online of the different pillows, different pillowcases, and it's very easy to find. Okay, now when you get down to the end, make sure you've got all your edges together, come all the way up to the top and reverse it. So you can see it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Now, if I was going to overlock this on a sewing machine, the foot I would use would be foot number 2. And foot number 2 is the overlock foot. I'll just see, I think I've got one in here. And it's stitch number 3 on 90% of the sewing machines. And the reason why we use it, it's actually foot 2A on this one. I'm going to show it to you. This is foot 2A. The reason why we use this foot is because it's got a little bar down here, and when you do the overlock stitch, the zigzag goes over the bar to form a perfect stitch. So if you use the right foot for the right job, you get the better results. So that's the foot that we use, 2 or 2A, and the overlock stitch on your sewing machine. Now this is just cotton, so I only need to use the single overlock stitch, which is number 3. And it's got a little bar, so don't pull the thread sideways, pull it back and around the bar. So on a sewing machine, this is what I would do. I would line up my raw edges with my side of my foot, and what it's going to do is, I got to tell the machine what foot I've got on or it won't work. 2A. What the stitch is going to do, it's on 4.5 width and it's only on 1.5 length. So when I stitch it, it's going to stitch straight stitch and then do a zigzag. So it does straight stitch and then a zigzag, and that is called a single overlock. Now this is as fast as the machine will allow me to go on a sewing machine for the stitch. So just so you're aware, I cannot go any faster. It's on full speed, and when you see the difference between using an overlocker and a sewing machine, you'll see the reason why a lot of us have an overlocker. It's very neat and tidy, but it's not only that, it's very, very, very fast. But this will stop it fraying, but it won't give you the result of what an overlocker would. Okay? So when you get up to the end, just remember you've got this foot on, and you can backstitch a couple of stitches, but not many because of the bar. Now when you lift the foot up, make sure you lift it to the back and to the side because there is a bar going through the foot. Now on an overlocker, so let's have a look at that. See, I've still got my hairy berries. I can trim those off, and that's the finish on a sewing machine on this particular fabric because it's very frayy. Now on an overlocker, oh, I just have to steal this foot control because I've left my other one at work. On an overlocker, this is the finish you're going to get. Okay, and this is the speed you're going to get. I shouldn't have left my feet up, but anyway. One moment, please. I have got, oh, there we go. Okay. One moment, please. I've got to close my door properly. Take it off. Oh, don't you love it? Here we go. Okay, so go. Right, so it's overlocking and it's just 3 threads. 1, 2, 3. Oh, look. Luckily I saw that. You see what's happened there? Oh, something's happened. So that was good that I saw that, or else we could have had troubles. Here we go. How are we going? There we go. Right, there we go. Can you see what happened there? Somehow from pushing it down and back up it got twisted. So you always make sure that the threads are going front to back, and then you know they're not going to twist and tangle. So now watch how quick it is to overlock this. So this is only 3 thread because that's all I need. I don't need to do the 4 thread because I've already sewn it. Go off the end, cut it, and then come back around and start on this end. Really good having a sew table on the overlocker. Can you see the difference if I just bring this around here? So with an overlocker, I know it's white, I should have put pink on it or something, but you can see how neat and tidy it is. There's no little dog legs or anything because it's cut it and it's overlocked it. Now what I do with the end of my tails here, with these, to do it properly, I get a needle with a really big eye, like a needle with a really big eye. So this would be like a tapestry needle, and I cut my thread, and before I thread the thread through, I put my needle down in between all my stitches like this, and then I thread the end of my thread through, and then I pull this all the way down like that, and I've tidied my thread up in here, and then I trim that off. So that's how I finish off my overlocking, so I know it's going to be neat and tidy with lots of wear and tear. Now if I've cut it too short like this one, because I do that regularly because I forget, then I just simply put this in as far as I can go and thread it up. It's not going to come undone anyway, but just go as far as you can go and pull that end through. And there's really not really much to cut, but I can trim that little bit. But you can see the benefit of an overlocker. With a sewing machine, you're still left with these little ends because an overlocker can't cut that off, okay? I mean, a sewing machine can't cut it off. So you can cut them off and it still won't fray anymore, but it's just not quite as neat and tidy, okay? A lot more professional with an overlocker. Now, I'll turn that off. So now you've actually finished your pillowcase, and all you do, oh, I can thread that one through later. All you do is pull it through and push your points out. Just put your finger in there, pop that out, and pull it through this way. And there you have your beautiful pillowcase. So now it just needs a really good press. Give it a shake, get your point turner, push your points out, and you've got a lovely pillowcase. So it's all ready to be washed and ready to be used. Okay? So it's very, very simple. So from that to a little press with the iron, and you get that beautiful result. Okay? So with the scraps of fabric from making this, I have made this cute little cushion. All right? So this cushion has been made with a little bit of chenilling, and I've done it a little bit differently than I've ever done it before. I've only used one fabric instead of 3 or 4. So when we come back, I'm going to show you how to do chenilling.